Thank you for being here. I know your time is valuable, and I want to assure you I'm going to make this call worth it for you. Now, first, context switching, okay? We are all doing something now. We were all doing something right before this call, right? Maybe you're finishing up work, or you're still at work, or grabbing the kids from school, or taking care of your kids now. Maybe you're getting dinner ready right now. Whatever it is that you're doing, or we're doing, are doing now, I want you to ground yourself here into what we are doing right now. If you need to keep doing what you're doing, totally fine, no problem at all. But, if you can and when you're able, ground yourself into where we are right now. We are here together. We are taking some time together to learn some important information that's going to help you and your child. Notice your breath, notice your heartbeat. Be here now and set your intention for this call and our time together. Let's be present together in the safe, supportive space and hold this space for each other. Okay. Now, if you are like so many parents that I talk to, I know how hard this can be for you and probably is for you right now. You're doing everything you can to help your child's skin, yet it feels like nothing's working. And that is why you're here. And I want you to know that you're not alone. And I do understand the fear and the frustration and the exhaustion that comes along with watching your child struggle, the worry about their future, their health, their happiness, and it can be so overwhelming. But I also want you to know that there is hope, and you do not have to stay stuck in this place of fear and uncertainty. And I'm here to help you see what's possible, to show you that healing can happen. I have seen it with so many families that I have worked with over the years, and I know it's possible for you too. And I'm really excited again to be here with you guys and to share the information that I'm going to share with you today and show you what is possible for your child and your family as well. So, this isn't about another cream, another restrictive diet, or another Band-Aid solution. Today, we are going to be talking about real, lasting change and addressing your child's skin issues so that they can thrive and your family can finally breathe easy again. We're going to dive into some key strategies, insights, and tools, and we're going to cover how to stop the itching. I'm going to share with you what you need to know about expanding your child's diet. I'm going to share with you some real life success stories so you can see what's possible. And we're also going to talk about how to truly get your life back and live without skin issues and get all your questions answered. So, how do you know if you are in the right place? Well, if you are frustrated and feeling bad that your kid has rashes and skin issues that just feel impossible to heal, even though you've tried everything, if you're ready to stop spending so much money trying more creams that don't work, if you're tired of feeling like you're experimenting with your child's skin, if you want to stop cutting out foods just to see if that's going to make a difference, and if you're really ready to help your kid heal and feel better for good, then you're absolutely in the right place. And I'm just really grateful to have you here today. And in case we have not met yet, my name is Jennifer. I'm a pediatric clinical nutritionist, and I specialize in helping children with itchy, painful skin conditions like eczema, chronic hives, psoriasis, different types of skin infections, topical steroid withdrawal, rosacea, acne. So, over the years, I have helped thousands of children stop the itching, get clear, healthy skin, and most importantly, get their lives back. And the parents that I work with finally get to just be parents and not full-time nurses, and families can just go back to enjoying life. And just a little bit about my background, I have multiple advanced degrees, including a master's in nutritional biochemistry. I'm a licensed dietitian, nutritionist, and a certified nutrition specialist. I'm a published peer-reviewed author. I've served as faculty member at LearnSkin, and I've been featured on a number of top podcasts in the field. But what I'm most proud of is that I have built a proven and practical system that actually works for kids with these tough skin issues. Now, before we dive into some of the stuff that I want to teach you guys today, I would love to know, so type into the chat, what is your biggest challenge right now? Is it the itching? Is it your child's diet? Is it the constant worry about their future? So, what are you struggling with most right now? Please, if you're comfortable, share with me in the chat. I know when I've, talked to parents over the years, some of the primary concerns are that it's the chronic itching, it's the diet is just getting smaller and smaller, and everything seems to be causing symptoms. So many of the families I work with, like the kids end up getting homeschooled because they need to stay home from school. Yes, the itching, the lack of sleep, and the crying at night. It is so common, and I'm so sorry that this is happening. The itch, it does unfortunately get worse at night due to some biochemical changes that happen in the body at night, along with our circadian rhythms. And the itch can be one of the most troublesome times, especially at night. And, so many of the parents I talk to as well, it's just, let's see, itching at bedtime, especially overnight, is the worst right now, which leads to interrupted sleep. Yep. Again, we've got the nighttime itching is so troublesome. Persistent eczema despite eliminating gluten, dairy, and other allergens. Yeah, so many families that I work with too. It's like trying all the different foods, all the top allergens, even if there are like food allergies and you remove the allergens, like the tested allergens, so many people still continue to struggle, right? We're going to talk about some of this today. And the skin just looks so bad. Yeah, so we've got these chronic skin rashes, and it can be so challenging too, and especially, when we have these visible rashes, and the kids get older, like they're aware of their skin, and it isn't just how it feels, which, of course, is the most immediate issue. It's that discomfort and what's happening with the skin. But it's also, as the kids start to go to school, and it is such a delicate and impressionable age, to have this happening on the skin and to look different and feel different from the other children. Thank you guys for sharing that. And I'm sorry that this is happening with your children and your family. And again, I'm so glad that you're here today, so that I can help you, through some of this and give you some information that's going to help. But let's start talking about the most obvious and immediate challenge, which is that chronic itching, right? And it can be relentless, especially at night, because it does disrupt sleep. And it also impacts every aspect of life, and it turns every day into a battle. I don't know how old your children are, but I also, so many families I talk to, like, you can't leave the child alone in a car seat, I mean, just all of these things that other parents don't have to think about when you're dealing with what's happening on your child's skin. Almost 3 years old. Yeah, yeah. So, and again, so we've got this most immediate challenge, which is this itching. And how many of you, too, tell me in the chat, how many of you feel like you've tried every single cream on the market? Have you tried like all the creams, like everything out there? And I'd also love to know, like, is there anything that has helped? Yeah, we tried basically everything. Is there anything, two things, is there anything that you have found that has helped? Or are you like so many of the people that I work with and the parents that I work with, that like you'll use a cream for a little while and it seems to be helping, but then like everything gets worse. And it's like, is it the cream? What else is going on? Maybe even you've tried the prescription creams and the steroids. And, I'd love to know, have those helped? Nothing is helping. Yeah. Sometimes even with the steroid creams, like those can help at first, but then they stop helping, right? It's just so challenging to figure out what to use on the skin. And, here's the thing, and the itch isn't just a skin issue, right? Like it's a signal happening from inside your child's body. This isn't a topical skin problem, because if it was, you would have solved it already with all of the creams that you've tried, right? You've tried everything. If it was a topical skin issue, it would have been solved. And to really heal the skin, that does happen from the inside, because what's really causing the itch and the skin barrier dysfunction is coming from inside your child's body. That's what's making their skin leaky, right? So this is that skin barrier dysfunction, that leaky skin, meaning we have dry, rashy, itchy skin. We have these chronic skin rashes. And this is why all of the creams haven't solved the problem. We need to address the causes that are coming from inside the body to help the skin heal from the inside while we support it from the outside to help manage symptoms. So I will talk more about the inside out little bit later on today and throughout what I'm going to talk about. Tracy, we've tried almost 10 topicals, and that's not including lotions. Also, Dupixent, because of the multiple blood draws, allergy testing. I would say that now she has a needle phobia. Needles are so hard for little kids,
Yeah.
too. I'm really sorry that she's going through all that. Um, and I do have a number of clients that, have started Dupixent just to help get over the hump while we do some of this internal healing and this internal work. And it can be really helpful. I do have one of the case studies I'm going to share with you today is a little boy who is on Dupixent, like while we're working through this other stuff. So I'll show you that too. Um, but yeah, it can just be so absolutely challenging. And I do want to share with you too. So let's talk a little bit more about these creams. And if you guys have been following me for at least a little while, you probably have heard me talk about this, but just in case, and for people listening to the replay, this is so important. And I think it's just always worth repeating. Most creams, lotions, oils, etc., even the natural ones are like putting a band-aid on a broken bone at best because they aren't addressing these internal issues that are causing the itch. Many of these natural creams also can make things worse and cause allergic reactions, even food allergies, or disrupt the skin microbiome, which can make things even worse. Um, and I'll explain a little bit more about that in a little bit too. But I want to dive deeper here because it really is important. And I do see a lot of people go wrong here, and that is by thinking natural is better. So the biggest problem with this is that many natural products contain food-based ingredients and also essential oils. And so, if you haven't heard me talk about this, you might be thinking, hey, what's wrong with natural? Natural is great, right? Well, the two main problems. So the first one is that the development of food allergies can actually happen through the skin. This is risky, especially for infants, babies, or kids who haven't eaten and orally tolerated the foods that are being put on the skin. So a primary mechanism for the development of food allergies is through a broken skin barrier and this leaky skin. So if your child has rashes, they have leaky skin, this puts them at even greater risk for this happening, and an even greater risk if they haven't eaten the foods that they're exposed to through their skin. So this is because gut immune function is a lot more robust than skin immune function. So there's a greater ability to establish tolerance through the gut when that happens before it can get through the skin. So this is why, like more recent guidelines, like if your kids are really young, and starting to eat solids, but this is why the newer, they've been out for a number of years now, but the newer guidelines recommend introducing all of the top allergens in as many foods as possible when your child starts eating solids, because it does help prevent the development of allergies from happening later on. Um, this is, of course, if your child does not have a diagnosed allergy, right? That's a whole different story. If there's already diagnosed allergies, then you definitely want to follow your doctor's guidance with what to keep out. But if there are no diagnosed food allergies, diet as broad as possible. We're going to talk a lot more about diet today too. And then essential oils. So the reason I don't recommend essential oils on the skin is because they can burn sensitive skin. When we have rashes, when we have leaky skin, we have sensitive skin. So the essential oils can burn. Some are potent antimicrobials, which has a negative effect on the skin barrier, the skin microbiome, and this can make it leakier, drier, and more itchy. Now, I've mentioned skin microbiome a couple times. So we have a skin microbiome, like we do a gut microbiome, like we have microbiomes all over our body, right? These are different compartments of our bodies that have all sorts of bacteria, fungi, protozoa, like all of this microbial soup, and it's supposed to be there. When it's in a healthy balance, it keeps things healthy and intact. And when it's not, we start to get problems. And so when we're talking about the skin microbiome, the bacteria and all this stuff that lives on the skin, when it's in a good balance, it actually helps keep the skin barrier healthy and intact. And when it gets dysfunctional or out of balance, then we get that out of balance skin microbiome does lead to more dysfunctional skin barrier function, leakier skin, drier skin, itchier skin. So we need to be really careful what we put on the skin. And this is where like a lot of the natural topical things and products out there have stuff in it that are like food-based, essential oils, all of these things that can be really problematic. This is a new one that I've added to the list is colloidal silver because I hear this gets used a lot, and I've had a lot of clients that have been using this like to help with a topical skin infection. Because of course, when we have all of this happening on the skin and the rashes and the itching, we are more prone to skin infections. And so colloidal silver is marketed out there for being a great, more natural antimicrobial, but applying it to damaged skin can actually do more harm than good. And there's just a couple research papers that I wanted to share with you here, but the bottom line is that colloidal silver particles can actually enter the bloodstream, and this is especially the case when the skin barrier is compromised, right? So when we have that leaky skin, which is the case when we have something like eczema or some of these other chronic skin rashes, this can actually lead to silver toxicity or even like a permanent bluish gray discoloration of the skin. And when the skin barrier is leaky or inflamed, this absorption can happen more easily. And this puts children whose bodies are already, their bodies are still developing. And so this puts them at an even greater risk for systemic exposure. Little bodies also aren't as effective at detoxing yet. So it can be problematic for that reason too. And then despite claims of the antimicrobial benefits that we're starting to use this for, scientific studies have raised concerns about the safety of colloidal silver, including side effects like kidney damage and damage to other mucosal tissues throughout the body. So, and when we're talking about these mucosal tissues, this is like we talk about the gut lining is a mucosal tissue. Under the skin, like we got lots of layers of our skin, but like the underneath, there's mucosal tissue. Mucosal tissue lines the lungs, it's in the brain, like it's throughout the body. And so the colloidal silver actually can get deposited in these mucosal tissues and start to cause problems. So if there is a skin infection, what I really want to drive home, the most important thing you can do is get it treated, go to your doctor. An infection on already leaky, broken skin, that can easily enter the bloodstream and lead to more serious, potentially even life-threatening complications like sepsis. So if there is a skin infection or you suspect a skin infection, talk to your doctor. And by the way, don't fear antibiotics. Okay. I know there's a lot of fear mongering out there about antibiotics. I have not seen over the years that I've been doing this. So I've been working specifically with kids with chronic skin rashes for like almost 9 years now. And before that, I was working with adults too. So I've been like doing this for a long time. I will say over these years, I had one family specifically that I can think of that who's the child's rashes like showed up after a course of antibiotics. One. Okay. And I've helped thousands of children. So possible, yes, but the possibility is really small. So I have not seen, other than that, a course of antibiotics like cause problems. I've even seen, and I know a lot of people are afraid of antibiotics for, ruining the gut and destroying work that you've already done in the gut. I will tell you this too. I've done GI map testing before antibiotics, course of antibiotics, after antibiotics, just to kind of see what's happening in there. Not much change. I really have not seen a course of antibiotics like tank things or destroy the work that we've done on the skin. So I want you to know that. I don't want you to be afraid of antibiotics. So bottom line, avoid colloidal silver. And if there is an infection, make sure to get it treated. I had a client many years ago also. Actually, it wasn't that many years ago. It was probably a couple years ago. And they were really afraid to go to the doctor. They were trying all these natural things. This kid's, the cheeks just were inflamed and constantly just like rashy and, scratching them bloody raw. And, we were getting great results everywhere else on the body, but it just wasn't budging. So finally, I convinced them, I'm like, just go to the doctor, get it checked out. Let's see. It turned out to be a MRSA infection. They did the antibiotics. It finally cleared up, which allowed us to complete our work together and just clear the skin entirely. So, infection, please talk to your doctor and, pass on colloidal silver, pass on the natural things. They, and again, not colloidal silver, but, if we're kind of keeping the skin clean and, working to prevent infection, like there are some safe things to try, which I will share with you actually. You guys might have this. I'm going to drop some things in the chat for you, some resources. The first one is my free guide. It's called Ditch the Itching. You might already have that. So that has some information in there about what to use topically. Um, just a couple questions. I see Anita, is tacrolimus a good cream to try? So that is a prescription. It is helpful for some people. The thing with these prescriptions and these steroid creams and such, like I do not recommend relying on them long term. You just, there is the chance for topical steroid withdrawal, and I do have clients with that, and I have seen that. If you are working, the way I look at it, if you're actively working towards healing from the inside out, the kind of stuff that we're going to talk about today, then I always feel like, yeah, some spot treatment here and there. Let's get over the hump. Let's knock this out because your child doesn't need to struggle and suffer. That's what these things are there for. But I wouldn't look at it for, as a solution because it's not. It's a temporary fix, but it's not a solution to the problem. So it is something that can be helpful for some people. So if you haven't tried it yet, you might want to give it a try and just see. Um, do you recommend Dupixent? I'm scared to try it. I wouldn't say that I necessarily recommend it. I mean, again, I've had some clients that have used it and it's really helped them get over the hump. I will tell you what I've seen. I'm thinking of two clients I have right now. One, and I'll show you that case study in a little bit. But one of them, like, doing really well. It's allowed him to really like do normal kid things, and the work that we're doing, like they've actually been able to space out the shots. They're usually done like every 4 weeks, and now they're going like 5 to 6 weeks. So things are slowly improving. However, I have seen in the two clients I'm thinking of right now that are using it, after being on it for several months to a year, now they're getting facial flares that they never had before. And, there can also be the risk of it leading to fungal overgrowth. So there are some problems with it, right? Nothing, it's not, again, I look at it as a temporary fix. So if things are really, really, really bad and you need to get over the hump, like it's there for those purposes, but I wouldn't really rely on them. And I can totally understand you being afraid to use them. But again, like it's there to get over the hump. So, okay, I also have another guide. If you have the free guide, Ditch the Itching, that's a shorter guide. I also have like this fully blown out version of it. It's like 16 pages and it's got a lot of stuff in it, a lot of information. So that might be helpful for you guys too. Yes, I've gone through that. For me, steroid clears it and then makes it worse. That's my experience. But the sleep deprivation had me desperate just watching him suffer. See, and that's the thing too. Like, if you need to use these things at night, for example, get over the hump, help with the sleep, but again, and I do hear this a lot, it's like it kind of works at first, but then it's like every time you stop using it, it just comes back with a vengeance. If that's happening, that's where I start to worry, like, okay, I'm not saying that's topical steroid withdrawal. I don't know enough about your case, and I definitely not a doctor. I can't diagnose that. But, if you're using steroids and it's coming back and it seems to be worse, that's when I recommend to my clients, like, okay, let's see what we can do to help manage the symptoms from the outside while we work on healing the inside, and let's get off the steroids, because that's where you get stuck in that cycle of using them, you stop, it comes back, you use them, and that's where we start to risk something like topical steroid withdrawal happening over time. One of my favorite tips is the Megaspore Biotic topically. So I'm going to drop that in the chat too. This is also something that I do talk about a lot. It's a really great strategy. It's this specific probiotic that you can mix with any moisturizer that you want, basically, and you apply it to the skin. And a lot of my clients get some really helpful improvements with that. So that's a strategy that you can try as well. I also want to talk about, some other quick tips too. These are in the Ditch the Itching guides, but something else that I find really helpful is actually bathing more often. Even this, if the skin seems dry, it can be helpful to just, because like if you think about it, right? Like we've got this rashy skin, we're slathering moisturizer on it, and we're not washing very often. And then often with kids, we're keeping them covered up so they don't scratch, right? So it's like a dark, moist, dirty environment. What happens? Things that we don't want are going to grow. So I really recommend bathing often, daily if possible. My go-to soap with soap, go-to soap, Dove Sensitive Bar Soap works for most people. So I would say bathe more often, rather than not. Use a cleanser, moisturize after. The Megaspore can be really helpful for some people as well. So these are some of like, I would say these are my like top strategies for helping with the skin from the outside. And we are going to start talking about what we need to do from the inside as well. Tracy, general question. How long would you consider long-term for steroids? We've been using triamcinolone for months now, 1 to 2 times per day. That's a good question. For everybody, it's different. If it's been several months and you're using it every single day, that's where you can start to get into some trouble with it. I would see if you can get down to like once a day and then every other day. And, keep in mind, like the rashes are probably going to come back, but this is where, and I'm going to share with you, what you need to know to fix this from the inside. And that's where we really need to get to solve the problem. Because again, remember, this is not a topical skin issue. And we don't want to rely on steroids or just symptom management. Um, no matter what, I don't care who has told you, if anybody has said this to you, I hear this, from a lot of people. Oh, my doctor said we're just going to have to live like this. I was talking to a private client right before this call, and the mom, kid's doing wonderful. I'm so excited for them. But the mom was just like, I can't wait to go back to the doctor and have them look at her skin because their dermatologist said, oh, she's just an allergic kid and she's going to have to live like this. Not true. Okay. Not true. Not true. Not true. Not true. But anyway, so if you can start to back off on that, and again, keep in mind that the rashes might come back, that's a sign this is coming from inside the body. And again, I'm going to show you some more about that too today. And then, okay, we probably need to try the bathing more. Yeah, try bathing more often. I do find that really helpful for a lot of people as well. Okay. So we've talked a little bit here about, looking at the skin from the outside, things we can do topically from the outside. I want to talk about the best way to start supporting your child's skin barrier and that healing from the inside. And the number one place to start is with diet and with protein. Protein, protein, protein. Okay. Why? Because amino acids, which protein is broken down to during digestion, it's broken down to amino acids. These are the building blocks for every single structure in the body down to the cellular level, including skin cells. And key skin proteins are made up of these amino acids. So there are supplements, and supplements really are critical on this healing journey because when there are chronic health issues, certainly like chronic skin rashes, diet is not going to be enough, but we do need to start with diet because you can't out supplement a diet that is lacking in the first place. So once, make sure your kid's eating protein. I have a guide. I'll pop this into the chat in a minute too. But so make sure your child's getting in some protein. You can always add a high quality protein powder. My go-to is called Pure Paleo. It's a bone broth protein. It's from a company called Designs for Health. Um, It's actually, I love it. It's delicious. It comes in chocolate, vanilla, and unflavored. The unflavored, I use that on a lot of my client plans because you can add it to absolutely anything. You can mix it in potatoes, in eggs, make the eggs have even more protein. You can really put it in anything. I love the chocolate because I like everything chocolate. So I make myself a nice old smoothie in the morning. But anyway, so we've got the protein powder. Collagen is another key supplement that's on a lot of my client plans, basically every single client plan that I've created. Collagen is another source of amino acids that are more specific to skin. So really helpful for the healing process from the inside out. And another amino acid is histidine. Okay. It's a single amino acid. This is a key product on my client plans. All of this, by the way, the collagen, protein, the histidine are in protein rich foods. So again, you need to start there. But histidine, in and of itself, is a really critical amino acid that helps prevent leaky skin and heal the skin from the inside. It's a key amino acid for a skin protein called filaggrin, which you guys might be familiar with as well. If you do need access to professional grade supplements, I do have, let me pop this link in here. This is my full script, my professional grade supplement dispensary. So you can sign up for a free account in there and search for whatever you need. And then also I want to put in to the chat, I have the free guide about protein. So it's going to talk to, like I discussed it a bit here today, but more about why protein is so important, the best sources of protein. So animal is actually better than plant if you can do that and you don't have, religious restrictions and what have you. But you can get all of this. This is a free guide. So the best types of protein sources, it explains why, how much your child needs. You can actually calculate that if you want. My favorite protein smoothie recipes in there. And then also some of the supplements are listed too. Histidine, in the chat, I see how long can we use histidine for? You can do, it's just an amino acid. You can just keep on using it. You can use it for as long as you want. So yeah, so completely safe to use for long term. I find it extremely helpful, especially in, gosh, okay. So with histidine and this filaggrin protein, I wasn't going to talk about this in too much detail, but I'll touch on it because I find it fascinating. But so filaggrin is a protein in the skin that is really, really key for building and maintaining skin barrier function and preventing that skin leakiness and holding the skin together. It's like the scaffolding. And for filaggrin to work, it needs that amino acid histidine. So like if your child is sensitive in water or they have like that really dry, like elephant skin, if your child like has it on their face and their cheeks, there's some signs, but just generally histidine is like on all of my client plans, especially if there's like water sensitivity and also like just super dry skin. So histidine is great and you can stay on that for as long as you need. Um, Gail, is it possible to heal the gut without going off dairy, gluten, and sugar? Yes, we're going to talk about, actually, let's go on to the next subject because we are going to talk about diet now. So perfect segue, Gail. Thank you for this question. Okay, so let's move on. Um, so I want to talk, this is the second biggest area where I see a lot of mistakes getting made that make itching worse, and it's diet, but not the way that most people think. And I know it's a huge pain point for so many people because you've cut out foods to try to help your child's skin. At first, it might seem like it's working, but over time, things just get worse. So I would love to know too, how many of you have you tried an elimination diet? Let me know in the chat. It's one of the first things that people try, right? And we go off the gluten, we go off the dairy, we take out the sugar, we take out the allergens, we take out, gosh, I don't know, salicylates, we take out histamine foods, we take out everything. And let me know in the chat too. Have you guys noticed a difference? Like, has anything that you've taken out helped? Gail, we didn't see any improvement, but maybe we didn't do it long enough. Seemed to help at first, but got worse again. Yep, Anita. Yes, I hear that a lot. So, okay, so we're going to talk about this because this is really important. So, The truth is that food is not the root cause of the problem. Reactions to foods are just another symptom of what's happening inside their body. And when you restrict the diet too much, not only does it prevent the skin from healing, but it also starts to affect growth and development and overall health. Your child needs a broad, nourishing diet to thrive and for their skin to heal. And I do want to elaborate even more on this because it really is so critical. And people just like we tend to get stuck in this so much, and it's not your fault because this is what you're advised to do. I will tell you too, like, even though I talk about this all the time and this is what I teach people, and you'll see this, but we're going to look at some research about elimination diets. But I will tell you, every time, like, I have gut issues, but like every time something happens with me, like the first thing in my head is like, what did I eat? I'm like, no, stop it, stop it. That's not what it is, right? Okay. So these are signs coming from inside. But let's look at some research about elimination diets first before we dive a little bit deeper here. So these are a number of different studies that I found. And the first one says it's not proven that the arbitrary elimination of some foods can relieve eczema, psoriasis, or even chronic hives symptoms in children who don't have a confirmed food allergy. Food elimination studies over the last 50 years have shown that there is little benefit to eliminating food types from the diet, specifically to improve eczema symptoms. Diet eliminations may lead to a slight, potentially unimportant improvement in eczema severity, itching, and sleeplessness in people who have mild to moderate eczema, but this must be balanced against the potential risk for indiscriminate elimination diets, which includes developing IgE-mediated food allergies. And despite their frequent use, another study found little good quality evidence to support the use of exclusion diets in eczema or psoriasis. So, first off, elimination diets are not helpful, in particular in the absence of diagnosed IgE food allergies. If there are food allergies that have been diagnosed and a physician has recommended that you avoid them, yes, keep those foods out. But keeping foods out unnecessarily, again, it can increase the risk for developing IgE food allergies. So, to dive even a little bit deeper here, elimination diets and food sensitivities. Okay, these are your IgG reactions, and they can be troublesome for symptoms, but they're not life-threatening. Unnecessary diet restrictions are a mistake because food is not the root cause of the problem. Even if there are allergies too, by the way, that and chronic skin rashes are two separate health problems. What happens is that the inflammation that an allergic reaction causes is what flares the skin. But it's not necessarily like the food itself isn't like necessarily causing the skin problem. It's a reaction that's happening inside the body. That inflammation is then flaring what's happening on the skin. But and again, food isn't the root cause of the problem. So this is why elimination diets haven't solved the problem and can cause a bunch of others. Again, like that lack of nourishment and stress, anxiety, and depression for you. This is stressful, right? You're like trying to figure out what your child can eat. And it's super stressful when they keep flaring no matter what you feed them, even after you thought you found the food trigger. I will point out too, cutting out junk and processed foods isn't really what I'm talking about with an elimination diet. This is when we're already eating, healthy, whole, real foods, and those seems to be triggering reactions. That's where the dots don't connect because that shouldn't be happening. That said, okay, so let's talk a little bit about the gluten and the dairy and the sugar. So I like to see kids eat the treats. Okay. If we don't have anaphylactic, IgE, diagnosed allergies to things, there should be absolutely no reason why your kid can't enjoy treats on the holidays, at a party, what have you. I like to eat some chocolate every day. We should all be able to do that. So if you have taken foods out, and they've been out for like 2 to 3 weeks and you haven't noticed a difference, put them back in. Okay. If you've taken them out and things got better for a little bit, but then the symptoms came back, that's still not the food. Put the food back in. When it comes to gluten and dairy, okay, if you don't notice a difference, nobody needs to sit around and eat gluten and dairy all day long. They do have some inflammatory properties, they just do. But unless your child has like a dairy allergy or is celiac, it's not the root cause of the problem, okay? It can contribute to inflammation, and that's the thing, like I mentioned with the food allergies, right? what's happening is that it's increasing inflammation, and then that is triggering what's happening on the skin because chronic skin rashes, an underlying issue is inflammation. It's these inflammatory processes in the body. So things like gluten, things like dairy for some people, things like sugar, these increase inflammation, which is why it's triggering what's happening on the skin. But I will tell you again, unless there's like a dairy allergy or celiac, or I don't think people really have sugar allergies, but you get the idea. So it's not going to be the root cause. I recently, totally transparent with you guys, I'm somebody who's like I've kind of had a carb phobia for like decades, and I don't really eat bread, and I just have stayed away from gluten. Kind of had a breakthrough earlier this year. I was just like, I'm just going to eat some bread and see what happens. I feel the same. Nothing happened. So I'm on sourdough bread now and it's fine. So, anyway, long story short, like if you've cut out foods, and then I see too, Anita, like it seemed to help at first, but then it got worse again. It's not the food. So, if you've taken these foods out and you haven't noticed a difference and it's been 2 to 3 weeks, add them back in. I also wanted to mention too, and again, remember, like these restrictive diets, when we get too restrictive, it can lead to undernourishment. And again, it can increase the risk for developing IgE allergies. It can lead to a fear of food for you and your child. And it can really lead to disordered eating habits and a negative relationship with food for life. And I have seen this start happening with children way earlier than I even want to believe it's possible. But kids from a very young age are very impressionable and they'll start to develop these unhealthy relationships with food. So wherever we can, if you've taken the foods out and you haven't noticed a difference and there's not an IgE allergy, add them back in. And in fact, also another research paper found that in people who have chronic skin rashes, this was done in a study with 18 to 24-year-olds. It found that over 80% of them that had used an elimination diet to try to help their skin now developed a negative association with food that was triggered by the elimination diet. So again, think about what can happen with your impressionable kid. And if any of you are nursing, and I see this in my practice a lot too, nursing moms are advised to go on elimination diets. And from the research, we see that it's not helpful, and it's very unfortunate that this is a recommendation that's made because we do see in the research that an elimination diet of a breastfeeding mother poses a risk to normal nutrition and growth of the child. And then dietary restrictions during lactation can also be harmful to the mom's health. So, you know, when we're talking about making sure your kid is nourished, it's like kids are little athletes. They're growing, they're developing, they're active, right? So, on top of that, they're also on a healing journey. Their skin needs to heal. So, pound for pound of body weight compared to adults, like they have greater metabolic needs. And in that free guide, the protein one that I stuck in there for you guys, you'll see some of this in there too. But I found this fascinating. I don't know if you've ever looked this up. You don't need to, but something I looked up just to, give you guys perspective. It's like nutrition for wound healing. Okay, because we're trying to heal what's happening on the skin. So if you look into that, you will see that the recommendations for like every single nutrient, especially starting with protein, is well above the general guidelines for what you see online for what your kid should be eating. And I will say this too, the general guidelines that you see online for like nutrition and how much you should be eating of everything, all those are for is to prevent deficiency. It's to prevent deficiency. It's not for optimal health. It's not for optimal development. And it certainly isn't optimal for a healing journey. So always keep those things in mind too. Um, but so, yes, your kid's body runs off nutrients from foods they eat. Kids need nutrients to build and repair healthy skin. They need it to grow, develop, function, thrive. When nutrients are missing, the body does not have fuel to do everything it's supposed to do, including heal the skin. And this can be counterintuitive, right? Because we're led to believe that elimination diets take foods out, the skin's going to heal. But I often see chronic skin issues get worse. The skin gets rashier, itchier, drier the smaller the diet gets because now the fuel that the body needs is missing. And when we start adding foods again, things do start to improve. This is one client of mine. This isn't the TSW one. I'll show you that one in a little bit too. We'll call him Kyle. But so this, I changed his name for privacy, of course. But so these are his before and after photos. We started working together when he was 3. And his parents, like, they were at their wits' end. They literally tried everything. I mean, they rehomed their pet. They were, they tried every prescription and over-the-counter cream. Things just kept getting worse. They all kinds of testing, allergy testing. They had air purifiers, water filters, like literally everything. They did food sensitivity testing, and his diet was getting smaller and smaller. And so, and his rashes just kept getting worse. So one of the first interventions that we did together was talk the parents through expanding the diet, and they were terrified. And as soon as they did that, things started to improve. There was a lot more that we did, of course. That wasn't the only intervention, but as soon as they started doing that, he did start to feel better. His skin did start to improve, and he did start to gain weight again. So, and you can just see here, his before and afters and what mom had to say during our work together. And, I'll say this too, like, and you have no way of knowing this, but the majority of the kids I work with, probably at least 90% of them, they have at least one nutrient deficiency. And a common reason is because of excessive use of elimination diets. And again, these missing nutrients are so essential for skin healing, for growth, for development, for sleep, everything else your child's body does. And, elimination diets can over time cause your own child to become malnourished. So if you're still thinking like, oh my gosh, I don't know what food to take out next, this is your permission. Stop chasing foods, add them back in, not the root cause of the problem. It's like not putting gas in your car or charging your car, or, not fueling the tank and expecting your car to go. It's not going to. So the same goes for your child's body. So expand the diet, prioritize protein. It's key. So I also wanted to share with you too, just what a few other parents that I've worked with had to say about expanding their child's diet. And like Jamie, she's the one in the middle. Their son had been diagnosed with failure to thrive because of his limited diet, and they were trying to, figure out how to help his skin. And so he was actually became failure to thrive because of that. And I've had many kids in my practice that have gone through that. So food is not the root cause of the problem. Expand the diet, add those foods back in, especially if you haven't noticed a difference. Okay. And so, just in case, I think this is worth mentioning, just in case you're wondering, food sensitivity testing, the IgG, totally unhelpful. Stay away from it. If there are actual IgG food sensitivities, all that means is that your child has gut hyperpermeability or leaky gut. Okay. We don't need food sensitivity to tell us that. If your child's struggling with their skin, they've got stuff happening in their gut. So we're not going to talk in detail about that today, but I'll touch on that in a little bit too. But all that food sensitivities are telling us is that we've got gut issues. Now, I will say this too, and I want this to be really clear, and you can quote me on this. That's why I put this up. Food sensitivities do not cause leaky gut. Okay. This is a misconception, and it leads terrified parents down a slippery slope of these shrinking diets, lack of nourishment, resulting in the inability for the skin to heal, and then the stress and anxiety and fear it causes for you as a parent. I would love to know if any of you have done food sensitivity testing. I see this so often. The food sensitivity test comes back. It's like lit up like a Christmas tree. Have you guys done this testing? And it's like your child's reactive to everything. I see this all the time. And it's like it's not even actionable. And a lot of times, like there's nothing on there that like there's nothing on there that your child even needs. I had a family do the food sensitivity testing, not through me, like they came to me with it, and it had like oysters on there, and this was like a tiny child. Like the family didn't even eat oysters. It's like, what the heck? Like it just doesn't make any sense. So here's what I want you to know. The gut is not leaky because of food sensitivities. There are food sensitivities because the gut is leaky, and the gut is leaky because there are imbalances in there. Okay. So Quote me on that. And remember that keeping foods out is not going to heal the gut. It's not. So you don't need to keep these foods out. Let's see, a couple comments here. Okay, so some of you, yep, you've done the testing, the IgG. Results showed that she was sensitive to dairy and highly allergic to tree nuts, though. Okay, if there's an allergy like an IgE, that I would definitely talk to your doctor about and see if you need to keep those out because that's different. So the IgEs, we do want to be cautious with. Talk to your doctor and keep those out if it's advised to keep those out. The IgGs, which are the food sensitivities, that's where we're talking about this is leaky gut. Keeping them out is not going to heal the gut. If you notice, like, and again, if your child eats something and like consistently, like you're noticing a reaction and you keep it out and it does seem to help, that's different. Of course, keep it out. But if you've taken things out, not noticing a difference, can't tell, took it out, it helped at first, but now everything's back and rashy and itchy, put it back in. If you can't tell, aren't sure, put it in. Let's see. I have noticed he can't eat nuts and dairy affects him, but my take is that his gut needs to be healed. Yeah, so like if, and that's the thing, like if you're noticing reactions like with specific foods, of course it makes sense to keep those out. Aren't sure, can't tell, keep the diet as broad as possible. Are skin prick tests reliable? So if you're talking about the skin prick for the food allergies, so for the IgEs, it really depends. Like, so kind of the gold standard for food allergies is that skin prick or like the skin scratch test. And this is something like your medical doctor will work with you with the best way to do it. But often, when the skin is so rashy and so inflamed, like you can't do the skin prick test. So it's not going to be reliable. They're going to be reactive to everything. So that's the case where they'll do a blood test instead. And I would say, like, again, really food is not the root cause of the problem. Even if your kid has food allergies, like, and the types of reactions that I'm worried about with foods that can be like on the allergy side really tend to be like if there's hives, swelling, trouble breathing, vomiting, things that are more like anaphylactic allergy. But if your child's like eczema or, psoriasis or acne or whatever, the other rashes are just kind of flaring, that's where I'm less concerned about it. Hives, that can be more of like an anaphylactic allergic reaction. So those are things to watch out for. And if you are seeing that, I would absolutely talk to your doctor about, testing for allergies. But, and your doctor will advise, because here's the thing too, right? Like, and we talked about the recommendations now are to introduce the allergens. So medical doctors nowadays are actually really good about these recommendations. And so, I know a lot of parents, it's really frustrating. Like you go to the doctor and you want to get allergy tested and they don't want to do it. That is because they don't want to create unnecessary fear. And it is important to keep the diet as broad as possible because if you do keep things out unnecessarily, it's more likely that you can actually develop like a dangerous food allergy. So that's where it becomes like there's a lot of gray area with everything, but definitely talk to your doctor to see, if you are concerned, if it is worthwhile to do food allergy testing, but it might not be. And, when that's the case, we've got to look inside to see what's happening inside. Um, you're going to take a closer look at the tests, but I understand what you're saying. Okay, good. I'm glad this makes sense. And yes, they had to do a blood test. Yeah, so with a lot of kids, especially when the skin is not when the skin is so inflamed and broken and rashy and itchy, they do have to do a blood test, which again can also be really traumatic for kids. Another reason why, doctors don't jump to do the food allergy testing. So, thank you guys for sharing that. Okay. All right. So let's talk about, I want to talk about the fear and fear of the future, because it really doesn't have to be this way. And, this is a big one for so many parents. Like, you worried about your child's future and how their skin is going to affect their confidence, their ability to make friends, if they can go to school. Something as simple for other families is wearing shorts or t-shirts or skirts in the summer, or, taking a road trip, right? Like we talked about too. A lot of parents, I have a lot of parents that are homeschooling their children because their skin is in such bad shape. And when they go to school, they just get sent home because they're sitting in class itching, or they have to go to the nurse's office. Or, so many of the parents that I work with, like, you can't even put your kid in a car seat because to go to the store, let alone take a road trip, because they just scratch the whole time while sitting in the car. And so many children also end up developmentally delayed and, missing milestones because of their debilitating skin symptoms. And it's not uncommon to have issues like this when we're struggling with the skin. And when your kid is struggling with the painful, itchy skin, it affects a lot more than their skin. For many moms, and I'm sure for you guys too, it's like just the stress of managing the constant flare-ups. Like, it makes it really hard to feel present. I've had so many parents tell me that they're not bonding with their child, and then they find themselves like actually distancing themselves from their child because it's just so stressful and it's just so overwhelming. And, it's like when holding or touching your child irritates their delicate skin, even just kissing them on the face or like trying to give them a hug can really feel heartbreaking. This isn't just about managing symptoms, it is about restoring precious memories of connection and comfort between you and your child. And you do deserve a way to care for your child's skin and nurture your bond with your child and with your family without the added worry. Tell me in the chat, like, how many of you feel like this fear has started to take over your life? Like, what's your biggest worry right now? Is it your child's health? Is it your family's well-being? So many parents, it's um just the rift it causes between parents, between you and your partner. Just I have so many parents where like one parent now has to stay home from work, because they have to watch the child 24/7. It's just can be such It is so challenging on so many levels when your child is struggling like this with their skin. Finding the root cause is the biggest stress. Yeah, yeah. We're going to talk about that today, as well. But it's so challenging because, we're chasing triggers, right? We're searching, we're looking for all these triggers, and that's not where we're going to find them. They're inside your child's body, and I am going to tell you more about what those are. Um, Let's see. We also have, I've noticed my sleep deprivation has taken a toll on me and the constant worry about his well-being. Gosh, the sleep one is just so huge. I mean, it's just, and again, like things can get so much worse at night. I agree with all 100% more stressful life all around, and it's hard not to get irritated at all the scratching. I've had so many parents say the same thing. It's like you're so frustrated because your child's scratching, and and it's not their fault, and you just want to scream, and it's just trying to maintain your composure for your child, for your family, and you just want to pull your hair out. Like, I just you guys are going through so much. I so appreciate you being here. Again, thank you for being here and thank you for sharing. And I really appreciate, I really appreciate you guys' time. And I know how hard this can be. So thank you. And thank you so much for sharing. And it's just the constant worry every day. Tracy, yes, I've been up 4 to 5 times a night with her at my wit's end, trying to get her to stop scratching. So sad. Many missed days, late school starts because of this. Definitely so much time researching and going down internet rabbit holes. Yes, and 3 other kids as well, right? So it's like it's so hard to be there for your family and your other kids and just to show up. Thank you guys for sharing. It's just such a heavy load to carry, and the way that this impacts everyone. And it just doesn't have to be like this. Your child does not have to live like this. You do not have to live like this. There is a better way, and I do want to show you what is possible for your child. And, there's a lot on the slide. I'll explain this. But over the years, I have helped thousands of families just like yours, and families who were told that they just have to live with this. who've tried everything and felt helpless. And the key to their success and yours is addressing the problem from the inside while safely and effectively supporting it from the outside. So when we're talking about the inside, so this is the approach, right? So we start by identifying and addressing the primary internal causes to blame. So these are imbalances that I see in 100% of the clients I've worked with over the almost past 9 years now that I've been doing this clinical work. We've got things like immune system imbalances and inflammation. Okay. So we need to strengthen your child's immune system so that it can fight the inflammation that is driving these chronic skin problems from the inside out. We do have the gut skin connection. Okay. This isn't just about gut health, though. That's only one piece of the puzzle, but we do need to use the right testing and an appropriate gut healing protocol to get rid of these gut problems so that your child's skin can heal. If you have tried working on their gut and it didn't help or things got worse, then it was not done in the right way. I do want to know too, tell me in the chat, have you guys tried the gut work yet? And how did that go? So type that into the chat, let me know. And I'm also going to continue to tell you about a couple more of these things that we need to look at. So the gut is an important component. It's not the only component, but it is an important one. And when it's done the right way, it works. In addition to that, right? So we also need to focus on restoring the skin barrier. So we need to manage the skin symptoms. We've talked about that a lot today. We've got to prevent this leaky skin. We have to prevent skin infection. All of this can help lower the risk for the development of food and environmental allergen sensitization, actually. And then we need to use the right things on your child's skin to prevent things from getting worse and support that healing from the outside, right? While we use the strategies to help from the inside. We did a gut test, if that's what you're asking, a waste. Let me know which one you did too, because yes, and this is the thing, and I get so frustrated for you guys too, because one of the key tools that I use in my practice is a GI map comprehensive digestive stool test. When it's done the right way, it works. And if you don't take into account all of these other pieces as well, it's not going to work. If you don't account for the gut imbalances the right way, it's not going to work. So let's talk about this really quick because then there's another component about the inside, but let's address this gut thing because it's really important. So Anita, okay, so did it and as a waste. And then Anita worked with a functional medicine provider, had a GI map. She recommended a gut healing phase followed by a rebuild with a spore probiotic. So yeah, Tracy, she takes, I hope, a decent probiotic, which I hope is helping her gut microbiome. And then Anita, your daughter had very low Akkermansia. So here's the thing. Just because somebody is a functional doctor or a naturopath or whatever does not mean that they know what to do with this testing. I will just say this flat out, okay? It's really important that somebody reads the tests appropriately, knows how to do that for children, knows how to do that for children with chronic skin rashes. Another thing too, like Anita, you're saying, okay, low Akkermansia, but what else was on there? You can't just look at Akkermansia or H. pylori or Candida or parasites or zonulin or whatever it is. You have to look at all of it together. All of it makes a difference. All of the imbalances work together to wreak havoc in there. All of this is a huge source of underlying inflammation. Like we're talking about these sources of inflammation that come from inside the body. What's happening in the gut is a really big one. So we've got to address these things the right way. And if you don't address them the right way and holistically, and if you don't do it in the right order, things are either not going to work at all, or things can get a lot worse. So these are all things that I help my clients through. So again, right? So we're talking about these internal issues. We've got this inflammation. So we have to find these sources of inflammation. We have to do the gut the right way. We also, again, focus on restoring the skin barrier. We also have to support detoxification the right way. So many people, so many parents I talk to also, maybe I'm not going to call out a specific product because I don't want to get in trouble because this is recorded and it's going to be replaced. So I won't call out like some specifics. Oh, I will say one more thing about the gut testing. If you've done, yep, I just see it in the chat. Okay, I'll say it because you put it in there. The Tiny Health. Direct to consumer, yeah, direct to consumer testing like that one, if you can get it on your own without the help of a practitioner, it's not going to give you any useful information whatsoever. It's just not. I have seen those tests over and over and over, and they are not helpful. You need a professional grade test. You need somebody to help you interpret it, who knows how to do this for kids, who knows how to do this for kids with skin rashes. It makes a world of difference. Um, Okay, so also back to detox. So there's some products that get commonly used for children. There's nothing like inherently wrong with the products, but the issue is that we have different phases of detoxification. Okay. So what most people don't realize, even a lot of other practitioners, is that a lot of these herbs that are typically used for to help with detoxification upregulate phase one, which means it makes phase one go faster. Phase one makes things more toxic. And the backup with detox usually happens in phase two. So, or phase three. So we've got, okay, we'll go into this a little bit. So we've got phase one, which starts packaging toxins up. It actually makes them more toxic. Then they go to phase two. Phase two helps like make them less toxic, packages them up even more, and then sends them to either get pooped out or urination. You pee them out. So this is why like hydration, constipation, these are all things that we have to start addressing when we talk about detox. But so like if you're taking herbs that make phase one go faster and you're not accounting for the stuff farther down the line, things get worse. So this is why if you've tried to like detox your child and things got worse, you were probably unknowingly upregulating phase one detox without accounting for things farther down the line. So, what we really need to do is support phase two detox. And that is by, guess what? We give the liver the fuel it needs. What is that? Nutrients that come from the diet. Okay. Vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, protein. It runs on amino acids. All of this is really important. Okay. So that's where you start with detox. I wasn't planning on talking about that, but there you go. So a little bit about detox for you. But so we have to support detox the right way. So, and then again, right, we need to expand your child's diet. So that is also really critical to give your child's body the fuel it needs to do all of this stuff. Your child's body is not going to heal if there's no gas in the tank. So we've got to safely and effectively expand your child's diet. So this approach that I work through with my clients is extremely comprehensive. It's a step-by-step process, and it's designed to help heal from the inside while safely and effectively supporting the outside. So you can kind of see a summary of that up here. Now, what I put down here, because this is just, and this is not an all-encompassing list. There's so many different things that are involved, and we talked about some of these today, but there are a lot of nuances, right? So like all of these different things that you see listed here can fall into the variety of buckets that we talked about, right? So we've got basically like the leaky skin and the skin barrier function. We've got nourishment and expanding your child's diet. We've got immune, where we need to work on your child's immune system and combat that inflammation. We've got the detoxification and making sure that toxins can get out and lowering those toxic burdens. And we work on the gut, right? So within each of those buckets, there's a lot of things that can be happening. So this is just kind of like a listing of what some of those things are that I help a lot of my clients through. And I just want to give you an example too. And I will say this too, like, and I know a lot of people like, you're trying to piece the puzzle pieces together on your own, which is great, but like there's a lot to account for. So if you're stuck, I don't blame you for being stuck. There is a lot to account for. So this is just an example to show you that. But I do want to show you some success stories about what's possible because I have seen it. These are clients that I've worked with. So this is possible for your child and your family too. Like Courtney, she just wanted to be able to send her son to school without the fear that he would come home like bloody raw and scratching himself, right? And so he was able to do that. We also have Kelly's daughter. This was so sweet. So she sent me this picture. This was not last Christmas, but the Christmas before. So she was finally able to wear a dress like all day for Christmas. And the best Christmas gift they got that year was her skin healing. And that had been the first time she was able to wear a dress since like June. And then Aaron's daughter, she used to not want to wear shorts. And then the summer that we had worked together, she was finally able to start wearing shorts again. Um, and Susan, this is the one that I wanted to show you with the topical steroid withdrawal. And Susan said to me, we were, in the middle of a session, and she was just like, "Oh my God, I can," and she literally said this to me. She's like, "I can now touch, hug, and kiss my son's face without it being painful for him." Now, they go to this family summer camp every year. It's like a sleepaway camp, and they're in cabins and such, and there's all kinds of activities, and it's up in the woods. And so they had gone to summer camp. This was like the year before these pictures that you see here. And they were there for like a couple days. The poor child, he spent the entire time in the room in the cabin. And then they had to go home because he was in so much pain and so miserable. And then, so this was the following year. He was swimming, he was playing basketball. This is the one they did start using Dupixent. So this is one of the cases with the Dupixent. And you can see here, like I was talking about topical steroid withdrawal, he was on steroids for years. And you can see what topical steroid withdrawal, and you guys may know this, but it's literally like he was literally head to toe looked like this. Okay. Beet red, looks like he was burned, and you can kind of see the cracking like here on his neck. So this is as we started working together, things started to clear up, and then you can see him here, playing and really enjoying summer. Um, so let's see, is bone stock a good nutrient for a while? Yes. So like bone broth, I have some reservations about it. Like I actually personally started using a bone broth supplement because it's chocolate and it's delicious, and I add it to my smoothie, and I'm working on my own gut. But I'll just call out this brand. I don't have any affiliation with them or anything, but it's Ancient Nutrition. They have bone broth, and they have a chocolate flavored one and a vanilla one. I'm getting because again, I love chocolate. I like it. I just put it in my smoothie along with the protein powder. I think you can get it on Full Script actually. But anyway, but bone stock, bone broth, it can be good. The only thing I would say, I really haven't seen an issue with this, but oh, and this is a whole subject for another day. I'm going to have to do a lot more of these things. There's so much I want to share with you guys. Histamine, okay? Um, Histamine is not always an issue. More often than not, unless your child has hives, it's not a histamine issue. That said, the thing with bone broths, like if you're making your own, the longer you cook it, it can contain histamine, and the longer you cook it, the more histamine is that's going to be in it. But if histamine isn't an issue, and again, if your child doesn't have hives, it's usually not a histamine issue. So it can be good. And, if your child likes it, sure, you can add some bone broth and bone stock. Yeah. So you said, so your son does have kind of the cracking. It could be, I don't know about your case, but if you are using steroids, I would try to start to back off of those, where you can. But yeah, you can try to make some bone broth. I understand you should not cook for more than four. Yeah, because of histamine. So the longer you cook it, the more histamine that can be in it. You can try and make it yourself. I was doing that, and then I bought like the actual bone broth, like the chicken flavored, beef flavored, things like that. But then I discovered the chocolate powder, and it's delicious. So I'm not looking back. I'm using the chocolate powder, and I add that to my smoothies. It's fantastic. But you can definitely try and make it yourself. Would you mind repeating the brand of the name of the plant-based protein powder? It's not plant-based. It's actually, okay, so here's the thing. In the guide, the protein guide that I put in there, I'll drop the links in there again before we're done today. I think I have all the links in one place. I will drop them all in there again for you before we're done today. But that said, Plant-based proteins are not as easily digested and absorbed, including the protein powders, compared to animal-based products. So, like the designs for health protein powder that I mentioned, collagen only comes in animal-based products. It's ancient nutrition, the bone broth protein. Um, they're all going to be animal based. They're bovine based, so comes from cow. Much better digestibility, much more easily absorbed. You get better nutrition from them. So if possible, I do recommend those types of products over plant-based. So I just want to put that out there too. I don't use steroids anymore, have used here and there, but his body, except face, is full of eczema. Yeah, so sometimes too, if it is topical steroid withdrawal, that's where it kind of gets like, well, is it TSW? Is it eczema? Now you have other problems happening. And there are strategies too. So, the clients I work with, there are some specific strategies that we can use to help if it is TSW as well. Is beef gelatin a good source of amino acids and recipes? That's a good question. Gelatin is kind of just like gelatin, so it doesn't really have like as much in the way of amino acids in it. I mean, it's good and it's healing, but like for to really get like the full spectrum of amino acids, that's why I recommend the protein powder or like animal proteins in general. They're going to have the full spectrum of amino acids, which is really important because you'll learn about this in that free protein guide too. Because some amino acids like are essential, which means you get them from the diet. It's the only way we can get them in. And then there's other amino acids that are conditionally essential, which means that the body can sometimes make them, but under stress, like in times of healing. So, like if your child's struggling with their skin because so much is going on, the body might not be able to make them. So, you also need to get them from the diet. And then there's like the unessential amino acids, which the body can then make from the others. But that's why I really recommend like getting into animal-based proteins because they do contain the full spectrum of all of the amino acids. Plant-based proteins typically don't, and that's where you like combine them like rice and beans or macaroni and cheese. Like you have to make them complete in order to like get all of the amino acids from plant-based foods. I hope that helps. Okay, how do you know if it's TSW? So that's a good question. I mean, and again, I am not a doctor, not diagnosing anything. Some doctors nowadays will tell you they're getting better at that, about recognizing it as an actual health concern. I would say it tends to be like your child will look like a burn victim, head to toe, beet red, this kind of cracking. If you look it up, like you can kind of Google it, and it's just like peeling head to toe, like just flaky peeling. Um, so those would be some signs to look for. Could it be eczema and yes, it can be eczema and TSW, and then it becomes really hard to tell. Yeah. So that's the problem. And so that's why, like, if you are using steroids and it's helping and you just use them kind of periodically and then it helps and then you get some relief for a little while. But if you're continuously cycling and doing that thing, like I was talking to a client last week where it was like they use it for 2 weeks and then they take, the time off, but then it flares and then they start using it after a few days. Like if you're continuously in that cycle and it doesn't stay gone, then try and get off of them and do this internal work and start solving the problem the right way from the inside out, and try and get off the steroids as much as you can and use some of these strategies that we talked about too to help the skin from the outside in. And it is, again, it's really challenging until we get in there and really do this root cause work. I also wanted to show you Emily's son. So he had gone from waking up 3 to 5 times every night. Now he's sleeping through the night, no more itching, no more pain, and they were able to expand his diet. And then here's another one, Courtney's son wearing shorts. I loved getting this one. This was so cute. So wearing shorts and t-shirts. And then Corliss. So she was a first time mom and just so completely overwhelmed and like every night, right? It was just the terror of, waking up in the morning and just seeing the blood-stained sheets. And, what we did, she got some results really quickly. It was just a few months, but she did the root cause work, addressed all of these different foundational issues, helped her customize it for her child, and she finally is able to sleep through the night. You'd never guess she has any rashes or had any rashes now, and no more itching, and her skin is clear. And this is one of my favorite cases as well. This little girl, I mean, she had such, you can see her back so severe. And just mom and the parents were just so heartbroken just watching her suffer every single day. And you can just see here, they trusted the process. Hers was a little bit of a longer case, but just seeing the before and after, she said she's crying through happy tears, and just getting the answers that they weren't able to find anywhere else. So I was just so happy for them. Okay, I'm going to take a quick look at some more questions here. What are your thoughts about magnesium, zinc, and omega-3s in relation to the skin? I've never seen magnesium, zinc, or omegas solve the problem. I do use omegas on my client protocols, but in conjunction with a lot of other things. I rarely use single nutrients like magnesium or zinc because all nutrients work together in the body. So when you start supplementing with individuals, they can send others out of balance and cause other problems. So I don't recommend single nutrients like that. And I have never seen anybody take zinc and have it solve the problem. How often is mold toxicity the issue? Good question. I'm glad you asked that. Very rarely. Very, very rarely. I will say it's a very hot topic nowadays, and it's very rarely the issue. Even if there is a mold issue, that does not change the foundational work that I described. So again, this leaky skin, right? Making sure there's nourishment, working on the inflammation, working on detoxification, working on the gut. No matter what is happening with your child, if there is mold, if there are parasites, we can talk about that. All of these different things, if there are allergies, if what have you, I don't care what's going on out here, it is not going to solve dust mites. Yes, it is not going to solve the problem unless you do these internal steps. And the reason I know this is because over all of the years that I've been doing this work, these same five, essentially these five like root cause buckets happen in every single child I have ever worked with. Every single one. Every single one. And when we address those and take into account, we might have to take into account something with mold. We might have to take into account something with parasites, which we do as part of the gut, which, by the way, this is an issue too. If there are parasites, and sometimes I suspect it even if it doesn't show up on the test, the gut testing is fantastic, but again, you have to know how to interpret it. Sometimes I might suspect parasites even if it doesn't show up on the test due to other factors, due to the health history, due to other testing, due to conversations that I have with parents. Sometimes I might suspect candida depending where the rashes are located, even if I don't see it on the testing, depending on family history and all of these other things, right? So you've got to pull the pieces together. You can't just address parasites. It won't solve the problem. If there are parasites, you have to do everything in the gut holistically. You have to look at all of the pieces of the puzzle in the gut. You still have to address the skin barrier and help it heal from the inside out and support it from the outside in. Still have to work on the nourishment, still have to work on the inflammation, still have to work on the detox, still have to do it all. Same with dust mites. If there's a dust mite allergy, right? That's a great question too. You can keep the bedding clean. You can get rid of curtains and rugs and carpets and all of that, but you still have to address the skin barrier function, the nourishment, the immune system, and the inflammation, the detoxification in the gut. So you still have to address all of these things. So I'm glad you guys asked that because that is really important. But that's why it's like we kind of like start to focus on these random things like like the dust mites, the parasite, the mold, the this, the that. And we lose sight of what's happening inside your child's body. And that is at the core, these foundational pieces that solve the problem and get results like this. So these might be things, depending on your child's case, that we need to work through and, add a little something extra for. But where these results come from, what I've shared with you, and all of the clients that I've worked with over the years, it's this set of root causes that really help solve the problem. So I do want to share with you too. So, if you are ready to stop the itching and expand your child's diet and give your family a brighter future, I would love to invite you to work with me. The system that I've created, it's proven. You've seen some examples here today, and it does. It tackles the why behind your child's skin issues, and it delivers real, lasting results like the ones that you've seen. And what you get is a step-by-step plan to help heal your child's skin from the inside while supporting it from the outside. Plus, you get ongoing support to guide you every step of the way. That's what I'm here for. This is my purpose. This is my calling. I am here to serve. And I found my niche. I love doing this work. I love supporting parents on this journey. I love helping you not just get rid of the stress, get rid of the overwhelm, get rid of the anxiety. You do not have to feel this way. You do not have to go through this. You do not have to keep chasing triggers. There is a plan. And it's not just about fixing the symptoms, right? This is about transforming your child's health and your family's life. And, if you have been trying to do this on your own for more than 3 months, I know so many people like you're at this for years, right? If you've been doing this for more than 3 months, you can get help. It's time to get help because it doesn't need to take that long. I would say, on average, the clients I work with, yes, I've had some cases that have gone like up to a year and sometimes longer. But the great majority of people that I've worked with, the thousands of families that I've helped, I would say like 4 months, 6 months is really an average. Yes, Tracy, 8 years. Way too long, Tracy. Way too long. I'm so sorry you've been doing this for so long. But it doesn't need to take that long. So if you have been doing this for more than like 3 to 6 months, like 3 months even, you can get help. And I know how badly you want to fix this for your child and how motivated you are to do this. But this isn't something that most people can do on their own. And you saw a few slides ago, right? Like all of these moving parts that need to be accounted for. And you have a choice, right? If you are on the right path, if you feel like you're on the right path and you're getting there and you're happy with how your child's healing journey is going, that is fantastic and that's awesome. But if you're not, you can change that and you can get everything you need handed to you on a silver platter. You don't have to keep researching yourself down rabbit holes. And this is interesting too. And I had this conversation, actually, the same woman I was talking to, I mentioned her earlier, right before this call, my private client. She brought up Facebook support groups. I'm in some Facebook support groups for like my own stuff. And, you know, support groups like the ones on Facebook, they can provide a sense of community and understanding, but they aren't necessarily the best source for actionable solutions. Number one, this is what I was talking to this mom about. There's so much fear mongering that goes on in there. We were talking about antibiotics actually. And there was so much fear mongering that can go on in these groups. And just, always keep in mind that many parents that are sharing their advice are still on their own journey. They're still looking for their own answers. And, what works for one child might not be effective for another. So it is important to focus on solutions that are evidence-based and safe for kids and tailored to your child's unique needs. And that's where the expert guidance comes in to help you address these real causes that are coming from inside and to really see real progress. I have a group program that also has group coaching and support, and I lead that. And then I also have one-on-one, like totally private programs. Both options I are open for enrollment. I have space for you guys in either now, depending on what your preference is. Both give you access to my proven process. With the group, of course, it is a little bit more DIY with coaching. And then, of course, the one-on-one is completely private. And, the reason that I do consistently get incredible results with my clients is because we focus on addressing these foundational internal causes behind the skin struggles. Again, these are the causes that I've seen in every single child that I've ever worked with skin issues. And this is over the past almost 8, 9 years almost now that I've been doing this work. And I've identified and refined these strategies and the interventions to address these causes through helping all of these children over the years. I do use both functional and conventional testing. And by doing this over the years, I discovered recurring patterns in these test results among kids with the chronic skin issues, including like specific sources of this underlying inflammation, like nutrient deficiencies, the detox issues, the gut problems, all of these things that we talked about, right? So the reason why, like, so based on the testing, and this is what I do, right? So it's like with my clients, the testing that I do focus on is the GI map, but I have done all of these other tests with kids over the years. So it's like, we don't necessarily need to do all the other testing because I took what I was seeing on every single test. And a lot of this has to do with the inflammation, the detox, all of that. And I've built that into the system, right? So it's doing this over the years has really given me such valuable insight and led me to develop this proprietary method, which is this comprehensive approach designed to really address these internal imbalances. And so, whether or not we do testing, every family I work with benefits from these proven interventions, the strategies, and the recommendations. And this is the approach that's unique to my practice. You're not going to find it anywhere else. And when you work with me, you get access to this method designed to provide real, lasting results for your child's skin. And again, I do work with children with all sorts of chronic skin issues. So whether you choose my group program or working with me one-on-one, that's the case. The approach, the interventions, the strategies, the recommendations, they help for eczema, for psoriasis, for acne, for rosacea, for chronic hives. Oh, somebody asked about parasites. Okay, if your child is struggling with chronic hives and you can't figure out what's causing them, and like let's say your child doesn't have allergies, like, nothing, no diagnosed allergies, for example, but they keep getting chronic hives, okay? Or they have allergies, but they're avoiding all of their allergens and they still have hives that you can't figure out. Parasites can cause that, candida can cause that, certain bacterial imbalances in the gut can cause that, H. pylori. So, see, these are all clues, okay? Anyway, I digress. But so, whether your child is struggling with, these different types of skin issues, skin infections, TSW, even if you're not sure what it is, and I hear that a lot too, right? The doctor's like, I don't know, it's some sort of dermatitis. But what the issue really is that it's just remember, it's not a topical skin issue, right? Like we do need to support the skin from the outside to help with symptoms. We need to really heal it from the inside out. But what's really causing the chronic skin issues is coming from inside. And that's what I help you figure out. And with this approach in my proven system, it can help us do that. So here are the differences. So with the private one-on-one, we work together privately. There's two different programs. One is about 4 months long. The other one is about 6 months long. We work together very closely for either the 4 or the 6 months. The GI map is included with Rashes Be Gone, which is my group program. It's 12 weeks long, and this is where it is a little bit more DIY. You get access to everything that you need to help build your child's plan. We go through all of the buckets that I mentioned, again, how to support the skin from the outside and the inside, the nourishment, immune system, detoxification, gut. Once you're inside, rashes be gone. So once you get inside the portal, I did add the ability to get a GI map, and it's a single session where we would meet privately and I would put together your child's personalized plan based on their test results. So that is an option too. And then for the one-on-one work, we actually start with a strategy session. That's just to make sure that we are a good fit to work together privately. And, you know, so if you are thinking like, well, maybe this, is this going to work for me? And you're concerned about that. But what if it does work? What if it does? Think about that. I mean, just like it has for the thousands of other children and families that I've helped over the years, and let that sink in for a minute. What if it does work? And I know it can be hard to imagine because we've gotten let down so many times before, but just imagine what life could be like for your child and your family when this does work. Because with the right tools, guidance, and support, you can do this, and I am here to help you. And I can honestly say that in my heart of hearts, I am 100% confident that this will work because I have seen this approach change lives. That my approach can help your child and your family and stop the itching and get your life back because I have seen it happen over and over again, and it can happen for you too. And, if you feel this and if you are called to this, I am inviting you to join me and to make this happen for your child and your family too. And I would be absolutely honored to be your guide. Your child deserves to thrive, and so do you. I just want to make sure that you guys leave here feeling confident, whether it's joining me. I hope you feel confident, like you learned something about what to do to help your child's skin, from the outside and from the inside. Feeling confident expanding your child's diet, know more about detox right now, a little bit more about what to do about your child's gut. I really, again, I just hope that this has been helpful. Thank you guys so much for being here today. And, just remember that your child does not have to live with chronic itching, with a shrinking diet. You don't have to live with the fear of what the future holds. And you don't have to live in stress, overwhelm, or guilt. There is a way forward. And I'm here to help you every step of the way. And we can take that first step together. So, feel free, schedule a call, hop into the program. Let's start building a brighter future for your child and your family. I just want you to imagine your child free from the itching, wearing what they want, eating all the food, and just imagine your child living their life to the fullest. Imagine your family thriving, enjoying life without the constant stress, living without skin issues. We can make this happen. This is going to work for you because I've seen it work so many times. It has changed lives. It can change your life too. I've seen it over and over again, and it can happen for you too. And I would love for you to join me. Have a lovely evening, everyone, and I hope to see you guys soon. Bye, everyone.